Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How's everyone? How are you all? Is my voice okay? Tired. Yes. Is my voice, everyone can hear me? My voice is okay? Okay, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Oh, my voice is low. Is my voice low for everyone? Or is... Okay, alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, very beautiful Saturday here. Alhamdulillah, we are able to gather again today to learn the fiqh of fasting and zakat. Today is the last session for the fasting. Next week, inshallah, we're going to start the fiqh of zakat. So with that being said, it's already 1:04, so I'll get started, inshallah. We do have a long session. We have a lot to cover. And also, last time we went a little bit, not little bit, we went way over our time limit, but there's a lot to, cover for fiqh of fasting in just 2 sessions. So we did end up going over time, and most likely we will be doing that again. So after 1 hour, if anyone needs to leave, inshallah, they can leave. But I'm just going to keep going until I make sure that I cover everything possible, inshallah. With that being said, I'll get started. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم. So the last time we let me go ahead and share my screen with everyone. The last time I believe we finished the portion regarding the intention, right? We finished the different types of fast and the time limit for each of those fasts. Do we have any questions for this before I move on? The time limit for each of the fast, different types of fast. So going forward, there was a couple of things that I wanted to make sure I clarify. First and foremost, last time I believe someone asked me about making multiple intentions when you are making up your fast. Like, for example, one of the most commonly asked question is during Shawwal, right after Ramadan, can I make 2 intentions, my makeup fast for my period and then my Shawwal, 6 days of Shawwal fast for, can I combine the intention for one fasting day? Okay, so the question is, can I combine the intention for one fasting day? And the majority opinion for this is regarding combining intention is no, we cannot, because you're making 2 intention for one fard action, right? For one action, you're making 2 intentions and you can't do that. So the most safest thing to do is make separate intentions for separate act of worship. Okay, so if you need to make your Qadha fast first for Ramadan, do that before you do the Shawwal. And that goes into the second question that also came up, is the do I have to make up the Qadha fast before I do any kind of Nafil fast? So, sometimes women will say, well, I don't want to miss the 6 days of fasting in Shawwal. Can I just do that first? Then I'll do the Qadha later, right? The principle is to give priority what is owed to Allah, right? Qadha is fard. So that is owed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the principle is to give priority to the Qadha fast over the Nafil fast, right? Because, and they base this principle from the hadith of Rasulullah from Hadith al-Qudsi actually, by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and this is not word for word, that my servant comes closer to me first by fulfilling all the fara'id, right? Then by doing the nawafil, right? So that is the principle, that first you have to approach or get close to Allah by fulfilling all your fara'id, then you can go closer to Allah by performing nawafil. But the priority is first all the fara'id. Okay. Um, the question, a question just came in. For instance, an hour is left for the break of fast and I get my period. Can I continue or should I give up? No, as soon as your period comes, it's done. Even if it's like a minute before iftar. Even if it's a minute before iftar, your fasting is invalid, even though you've pretty much fasted the entire day. And it's okay. Again, nothing is wasted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we shouldn't feel like, oh my God, I just wasted a whole day fasting and didn't count. No, it doesn't waste with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it does become invalid at that point as soon as you see the blood, and you're not fasting anymore. You're not considered a fasting anymore. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does reward us. Nothing goes wasted, right? The fast is invalid, but out of the fast, can we carry on the rest of the fast? No, you can't. You like I said, one of the thing with someone who has a valid excuse like period and you can't fast, right? Obviously, you're not going to go out and eat in front of everyone out of adab, right? Out of adab, you are not going to go and eat out of front of everyone. But if you can't imitate the people who are fasting. So if you want secretly drink a sip of water, whatnot, you can do that. The time that you are supposed to stay away from fasting, I mean, imitating the fasting people. So let's say that you're done with your period, but it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Half the day of the fasting has already finished. You can't start fasting now because it's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? But you're done with your period. You have taken your ghusl. You're starting to pray for Zuhr, and then you're going to pray Asr and Maghrib. So in that case, out of adab, you should not eat for the rest of the day, and out of adab. But if you've just got your period, you're going to take a sip of water or whatnot, you shouldn't imitate the fasting people. Let's say we didn't know this, so we used the nafil some days before we made up our qada. No, that's still okay. The thing is, if you do the nafil before the qada, it still counts. You can do that. It's valid. Even if coming Shawwal, you do your Shawwal before your qada, it still counts, right? But it go against the tertib of the Sharia, which is to give preference to the qada first. Okay, even if you right now, while knowing this, if you go into Shawwal, you do the 6th Shawwal before you do your qada, it will still count. But it just goes against the principle of the Sharia, which is to give preference to the qada. Because to be honest with you, sometimes people get lazy and we don't do it as soon as we're supposed to, right? Yes, if you know how many fasts that you have missed, normally girls reach age of puberty. Some do, some don't. I did it until I was 12. So it's all depends on when you got your period, and that's when your puberty started. So just calculate from the time you reached your puberty, got your period up until now, and count how many fasts that you have missed, okay? Not it doesn't have to be 9 years old, because not everyone gets their period at night. Okay, I understand. Makes more sense. Okay, so if you're in state, if you're in state, you start praying, etc. after ghusl, but it is the middle of the day during Ramadan. It is still okay to eat and drink, but not in front of others. Yes, you can still eat and drink, but the adab of the ulama say that because now, you know, you're done with your period, you should imitate the people of fasting, even though you're not fasting. Even though you're not fasting, that day will not count as fasting. But you can still eat, and it's not haram. It's not haram. It's just adab, right? Okay. I hope that makes sense. Inshallah, I'm going to keep looking at the questions as every time I finish the topic, inshallah. So I want to go into the mustahab of fasting now. Mustahab, for those who are not know the meaning, mustahab means these are recommended actions of fasting, and they bring us extra reward when we do them, okay? So the first is to have suhoor. This is extremely important, okay? And this is both sunnah and mustahab, to have suhoor. I cannot tell you the importance of having suhoor, okay? To the point where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the distinction between our fasting and the fasting of the people of the book is taking suhoor. Okay, the distinction between our fasting and the fasting of the people of the book is taking of suhoor. And so this is extremely important, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the things, one of his sunnah was to always make sure he didn't do the things the way the people of the book have done their things, to always have that clear demarcation that this is us and this is them, okay? So clear distinction is made by taking suhoor. So we should all make sure that we try to wake up. I know it may become difficult. A lot of people are going to work and that. I know some people, eat before they go to sleep. That's fine. Your fast still counts, but you are missing out on a huge blessing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Anas radiallahu anhu also had said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, eat suhoor, for there are blessings in it. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu narrated, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have said, the suhoor is a meal of blessings, so do not leave it, even if you just take a gulp of water, since Allah sends mercy and his angels seek forgiveness for those who take suhoor. Right, so we are actually depriving ourselves of great blessing and barakah and the forgiveness, the istighfar of the angels on our behalf when we do not take suhoor. Even a sip of water counts as taking suhoor, right? So, and then again, I said, for those of us who wake up for suhoor, just that mere action, just that action of waking up and eating suhoor suffices as intention, making intention, okay? So that's very important, is to take suhoor. To delay the suhoor up to a little bit before dawn. So like, you're delaying it 10 minutes before Fajr starts, right? You're delaying it 15, right? A little bit before Fajr. This is mustahab. To end one's fast immediately at sunset. Okay, this is very important. There's no delay in iftar. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have gone even to the point of saying that those people who he said, the ummah will not cease to be upon my sunnah. The ummah will not cease to be upon my sunnah as long as they do not await the stars when breaking the fast. Meaning when you don't delay making your iftar, right? As soon as iftar comes, drink the water, drink the dates, so you break your fast. Okay. To break one's fast with dates, and if it is unavailable, then water. And to make one's intention at night, like before you go to sleep, or after Isha, whatever it is, make your intention for the next day's fast. That is the mustahab of fasting. I will, these are the hadiths for it. Now we will talk about the makruh acts while fasting. And makruh means very disliked, right? You're going close to the borders of haram. Yes, we can make intention in any language. It can be any language. First, makruh acts while fasting is, so again, these will not break your fast, but they will decrease the reward of it. Okay. Number one, to chew something intentionally, even if it doesn't have a flavor. Chewing anything intentionally while you're fasting, you know you're chewing it, that is makruh. It could be like a top of a pen, or a piece of paper. I mean, who would chew a piece of paper? But anything chewing intentionally is makruh. To taste any food, article of food or drink, then to spit it out, it doesn't go down, and it doesn't go down the throat. If it goes down the throat, obviously your fast is broken. But to taste food or drink, then to spit it out, it is makruh. To collect one's saliva in the mouth, then swallow in an attempt to quench one's thirst, that's makruh. To delay one's fard bath until after dawn. Yes, I will share the slides, inshallah. So to delay your fard bath until after dawn. Now, that's not to say that you can't do it. If you wake up at Fajr, you're in the state of Janaba, you have to take a bath to pray your Fajr, right? But to delay it intentionally, and you're being lazy about it, is makruh. Why? Because one of the component of ghusl is that you have to gargle, right? Your water has to go, reach the back of your throat, right? So that may uh cause the water to go down, all the way down to the throat, and that would break your fast. Actually, the ulama say that you should not when you gargle, we tend to tilt our head back. So when you are gargling while fasting, try not to tilt your head back in order to prevent the water from going down the throat. And for wudu, you shouldn't even gargle. You don't have to gargle because of the fear of the water going down the throat while fasting. Okay, this is while fasting, so you don't have to gargle while making wudu. Number 5, to use toothpaste or powder to cleanse one's teeth, even the condition that nothing goes down the throat due to taste. However, using an unflavored miswak is permissible. I remember going to school when I was in high school. There were some Muslim kids, they used to carry, like have brush and toothpaste with them, because they did, for the bad taste in their mouth, and their mouth would get bad breath and stuff like that. We should avoid that. And get in the habit of using miswak. If you use miswak really good, you're not going to have bad breath, inshallah. To keep complaining of hunger and thirst, right? To take water too much up to the nostrils while performing wudu. Gargling too should be avoided even in fard ghusl. Okay, so this is very important because of the fear of the water that may go down the throat and invalidate the fast. To quarrel, argue, or use filthy language, and to backbite, tell a lie, or swear. So all of these are makruh actions while fasting. They will decrease the reward of the fast. Before I move on, is there any questions regarding the makruh acts? Okay, alhamdulillah. So I'm moving on. I'm trying to not take too much time where it's not necessary, because we have about 20 more slides to go. Subhanallah. Okay. If you do something unknowingly, you are excused from it. Like, it's not going to nullify your fast, or it's not going to break your fast. Forgetfulness, to do things forgetfully, is excused by the Sharia. But that's why we have to come and seek knowledge, and so we understand what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's okay. Does getting some out thought make a fast? Does getting some out thought make fast makruh? Yasmin, can you rephrase the question, because I don't understand it? Just rewrite it. Does getting some ill thought, is it ill thoughts, like bad thoughts, make the fast makruh? Is that what you're asking? bad thoughts is if thinking of something bad, right? So no, it won't break. It can't. See, the thing is, we're approaching the fast through the understanding of becoming a muttaqin, right? So even though it doesn't, maybe it won't decrease your thought thing, but the point is you're not going to be reaching the level of attaining or increasing the taqwa, because now you're allowing your mind to entertain thoughts that are not loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? If you're doing it intentionally. The if it's unintentional, getting bad thoughts, just say A'udhu Billah and move on, because those are not within your control, and you just say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim and you move on, because that's unintentional and you have no control over that. And Alhamdulillah, Allah does not hold us accountable for that. If we need to taste food whilst cooking, is that allowed? If your husband is someone who's going to become violent or aggressive and you fear problems in your home, then you can do that. They do give that a little bit allowance for that, but unnecessarily, let me just make sure my food tastes fabulous. No, that's not necessary. That's not allowed, because in that case, you're not dealing with someone who's gonna throw a fit because there's not enough salt in the food, right? Okay. I hope I have answered all the questions for right now. Okay. The next fast is the nullifiers of fast, the things that will break the fast. Now, this is going to take a lot of time, inshallah. So I'm going to try to my best, inshallah, to zoom through it. And this is a broad overview of the things that can break the fast. Anything entering into the digestive system. So this is the important part. Anything entering into the digestive system, which is throat, stomach, and intestines, okay? Anything that reaches into the throat, stomach, intestines from mouth, nose, or anus will break your fast. Okay, so these are the three channels: mouth, nose, or anus. If anything through these channels go into the digestive system, it will break the fast. Second is menstrual cycle, postnatal bleeding. Those things will break the fast. Intercourse, the actual act of penetration, will break the fast. And ejaculation with deliberate physical stimulation. So if you are, oh, by the way, this is something I forgot to mention at the beginning. If there's kids in the room, please get the kids out, because I do want to be able to explain a lot of adult questions and things that comes up for fasting. So if there's kids in the room, please get the kids out. Any male men in the room, please go and sit somewhere else where there's no men. Put on a headphone, because I don't want to be talking like this in front of any non-mahrams, obviously. So please do that right now before I go on, inshallah, because there's going to be more of these things coming up as we go on, inshallah. Intravenous drips and injections does not nullify fast. It does not. Intravenous drips or injections, they do not, because again, going back, so the basic understanding is anything through these channels, which is mouth, nose, and anus. And intravenous drips and injections do not go in through the mouth, the nose, or the anus. They go in, like if someone's getting injected through their arms, it goes into their muscular system, it goes into the muscles, right? Or if it's like a drip, like the IV drips, right? Because it's going directly into the bloodstream through the veins or the arteries. It's not going in through the mouth, nose, or anus. Those are the channels that will break the fast. If any of the nullifiers are acted upon not deliberately, what actions should be taken to correct this? Qadha. If you have unintentionally, unknowingly have done anything, any of the nullifiers, and it has broken your fast, now that you have known it, just do qada, because you have done it unknowingly. I hope that helps, inshallah. And we'll go more into other things that do not, like medical things, intravenous and all of that, inshallah. So with that being said, I'm going to keep going on. If they are done deliberately, out of free will, and without valid reason. So this is something very important to understand. These things, these nullifiers have to be done deliberately. Okay? They have to be done deliberately. So this is the three key criterias you have to keep in mind as we move on further during this class, that it has to be done deliberately, out of free will. No one's forcing you to do it, and without a valid reason. Then these things will break someone's fast. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So please keep this in mind: deliberation, out of free will, and without valid reasons. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next thing. This is going to take a little time. So when it comes to the nullifiers, we can put each of the nullifiers in two separate categories. Okay, so we divide up the things, actions that invalidate fast, into two categories. The first category is nullifiers that requires qada, only making up, right? Actions that break the fast, but only thing you have to do is make up the fast later after Ramadan. So that's the first category. Second categories is nullifiers that requires qada, making up the fast, and kafara, the expiation for the fast. So any kind of actions that will break, not only break your fast, you have to now make up that fast and give a kafara for it. So these are the two categories that we divide up the nullifiers into. We put them into these two categories. Now I'm going to go into detail about all of these, inshallah. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Bismillah. Nullifiers. Now, I want to go over what is kafara, right? Because we just talked about this, that there are some actions, if you do this while fasting, they're nullifiers. Not only do you have to make it up later, but you have to give kafara. So let's go into a little bit explanation about what is this kafara, inshallah. Kafara or expiation. Now, this is like a penalty. You're paying a penalty fine for doing this, okay? This is a penalty fine for doing this. Okay, I will, inshallah, answer this question in a little bit after I explain the kafara, inshallah. If someone has medication. If I forget to answer your question, please type it up again, like copy and paste it again in case I forget. So let me first go over what is kafara. Kafara, first, it is expiation. So it is a penalty. You're paying a penalty for doing something that broke your fast, okay? You're giving a penalty for doing something that you're not supposed to do. You've done it deliberately, knowingly, and you have done it out of free will. So now you have to pay the penalty for it, okay? So the first option is to fast consecutively for 60 days without interruption. You have to fast for 60 days without interruption. So you have to fast 2 months, 60 days without taking any break. And you have to choose a time when the two Eids, because the two Eids and the 3 days of Eid al-Adha, 3 days after Eid al-Adha, those are haram days to fast. So you have to pick a time, choose a time when the two Eids are not going to interrupt the 60 days, okay? Otherwise, a person must restart again. So imagine you fasted already for like 20 days and Eid al-Adha came. Now you got to restart again because you had an interruption in your consecutive 60 days fasting. Okay. So this is really important to choose a time to do it when you know there will be no interruptions, right? Exceptional days of interruptions are valid excuse. So for example, if you fall sick, then those are exceptional days for interruptions. Women get their period, those are days that you can't, interrupt, and it's okay. So let's say if you fasted 15 days, your period came, your period was another 5 days. Then right after the period finishes, you resume your fasting day 16 after that. Okay, so that's important. The exceptional days, valid excuse again for sickness. If you get really sick, you can't continue to fast, so you take those days off and you restart after getting better. Okay, now the one thing to understand is this is where a lot of people make a lot of mistakes when it comes to kafara, and then a lot of people, because of the lack of knowledge and understanding, is that they think they can choose just to give money as kafara. You can't do that. The only time you are allowed to skip the 60-day kafara fasting is if you qualify for the um, valid excuses. So remember, as going back when we did who is excused from fard fasting, and we said these are the valid excuses. If you meet the criteria for these, then you can give money and give the monetary compensation. You cannot just choose, oh, I'll just give the monetary compensation as kafara. You cannot just choose that. If you qualify under these excuses, and remember the last class, we spent about good 30-40 minutes just talking about this, because this is not just like, you can't just like lazily pick monetary compensation. Oh, lazily pick, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm just gonna skip today. It doesn't work like that. There has to be valid excuse. You have to meet the criteria for all of these valid excuse, for the excuse to be valid themselves, right? And if then in that case, you meet the valid excuse, you can move on to the monetary compensation for kafara. Otherwise, you have to fast the 60 days. There's no option. You have to fast the 60 days. Let me see if everybody's understanding, just to clarify. For the traveling, you can pause. If you meet the criteria for traveling. And again, so the question is, just to clarify, if you're trying to complete your 60-day fast but are traveling in between, can you pause for the fast, or do you have to keep going? And then this is where, again, you have to approach this from the taqwa perspective. Can I keep fasting even while I'm traveling? Is this going to be too much? If is my travel time, remember going back to the criteria for traveling, if you're traveling after Fajr, then you should try to keep the fast. So these are all the things that to consider, inshallah, to meet the criteria for traveling. Okay. Why do we fast 60 days? I didn't understand. Sorry for that. Fasting the 60 days is the compensation for breaking a fast during the month of Ramadan. And this is only for a month of Ramadan. This is not for any other fast. If you like fast Ashura, the 9th day of Ashura, and you broke that fast, right? There's no kafara. Kafara is only for Ramadan fast. Okay. Because we initially only broke our fast. If you broke your fast in the before, right? If you broke your fast unintentionally, just to qadha of it, there's no kafara. This is, again, remember the criteria is if done deliberately. So this is what you have to remember. Any of these nullifiers, you've done it deliberately. You done it out of free will and without a valid reason. Okay, knowingly you ate, knowingly you engaged in marital relationship with your spouse. That's when you have to give kafara. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely kind. I mean, look what he's saying. He's like you honestly have to have a lot of darkness in your heart to like knowingly do something, and you're breaking your fast knowingly, right? Deliberately. Only then the kafara becomes a necessity, right? Subhanallah. Okay, just to clarify that question I've answered, I have chronic acid reflux problem, and fasting long periods is sometimes more harmful for my digestive system. I've had this investigated medically and have long-term issues with this. So in the case, I would be excused from option one or kafara. Yes, in that way, you are excused from the option one, and then you can move on to option two, right? Then you can move on to option two. Why? Because going back to the who's excused from further fasting, sick people, or fear of illness and further harm, right? You fall under that category because then your prolonged fasting is going to make it worse, or it's going to slow down your recovery. So now, because you have this valid excuse, you don't have to do option one. You can go to the option two. I hope that made sense. So if you break multiple Ramadan fasts and you need to multiply, no. See the mercy of Allah. This is another thing, mashallah. I'm glad you asked that question, Ariba. The question is, if you break multiple Ramadan fasts, then you need to multiply by 60 for each broken fast. No. What happens is you can combine all of those and just do one 60-day fast. Okay? One 60-day fast. One kafara is sufficient for all of those Ramadan fasts. So that is the mercy of Allah, right? That is the mercy of Allah, that He's so lenient even with His penalties and punishments, right? So let's say in 2023 you broke fast intentionally, so you owe kafara for that. 2022 you did it as well, you broke fast, you owe kafara for that, and then you can group that all up and do one kafara. Okay, group that all up, do one kafara. So let me make this a little bit more clear to everyone, and I'm going to just quickly open up my docs. So let's say you did Ramadan 2022. You have you intentionally broke 3 fasts, okay? Then Ramadan 2023, you intentionally broke 4 fasts, okay? So then you can do one kafara for this 2 years, right? So you'll do one kafara, which is 160 60 days, consecutive days of fasting, plus the 7 Qadha days. So you'll do a total of 67 days. Does that make sense? Then, this is another example, okay? Then you did it again in 2024. Okay? You did it again in 2024, broke 2 days. Then you have to do another kafara. Then you have to do another kafara. Because you already did the expiation for those last 2 years, okay? And now you in 2024 you did it again, you have to do another kafara for that, okay? But if you had, let's say, if you had you did the 2024, you didn't pay the kafara yet, then you can include 2024 in this kafara. Okay? Anything after this kafara needs another new kafara. Okay? So one kafara can be like multiple years of fasting penalties can be grouped together for one kafara. And anything done after this kafara requires a new kafara. I hope that makes sense. So if anyone is counting, oh, I did multiple years of, things that I shouldn't have done and I broke my fast, knowingly, okay? Not unintentionally. You knew that you were doing it wrong. You knew that this is wrong. Then you have to do one kafara. You can group it all together and do one kafara. Can kafara intention be, oh Allah, I'm doing 60 days of fasting for however many days fast I missed in Ramadan intentionally? Yes, It can be a general like all the fasts that I've broken intentionally. And the qada days, right? Now the qada days, you just have to ballpark of how many if you remember how many you missed, okay? What if we won't remember? Because before the age of puberty, our parents used to allow for some fasts only, then it would be counted or not counted. uh, Before the age of puberty, your fast doesn't count, right? You don't have to fast. So you don't have to count before puberty. You have to count after the age of puberty, right? After the age of puberty, that's when you have to start counting how much fast you have missed, okay? And again, if you did it unintentionally, there's no kafara. If you did it unintentionally, there's no kafara, just do qada, because the principle of kafara is done deliberately, knowingly. You knowingly broke your fast out of your free will and without a valid excuse. This is the important part. What I understood is that kafara options are only for deliberately breaking the fast, both options 1 and 2. However, we miss a fast. Okay, yes. Can we offer option 2? If you miss a fast because of period and sickness, there is no kafara. For period and sickness is only qada, only making it up, because you're not deliberately missing the fast. Okay, sickness is out of your control, period is out of your control, right? So those are valid excuse for missing fast, and only thing you have to do is make up your fast after Ramadan. I hope that made sense, Aska. The sickness and period is not for a kafara. There's no kafara for being sick and missing fast. There's no kafara for period, just qada, okay? Does same apply for qada salah? No, there's no qada salah, alhamdulillah. Otherwise we would all be in a very bad situation in the day of judgment. There's no qada. Oh, okay. Qada salah in terms of like in your period, is that what you mean? If you're talking about qada salah, meaning like you're supposed to pray and you didn't pray, there's no kafara for qada salah. You just have to make up the salah. There is no kafara for qada salah. You have to make up the salah. In terms of having to make a fast due to having menses, it is supposed to be completed before the, yes, it is recommended, highly recommended, that you make it up soon as possible after the Ramadan and then before the next Ramadan. Does this also apply those who intentionally miss their fast, don't fast at all without inversion, or making it up is enough? No. Those people who intentionally miss their fast, they don't fast at all without a valid reason, then it counts as nullifiers, and you have to give qada, kafara, and do qada. Intentionally is the deliberate part. Maybe I should change that to intentionally. Deliberately and intentionally are same concept in terms of you know what you're doing. There's no you know what you're doing, right? So as a baligha child misses her Ramadan fast out of ignorance, no. If you're a baligha child, right? If you're 13, you already got your period. You didn't know you're supposed to be fasting, or your parents didn't emphasize it. Now you're old enough and you know you're supposed to. There's no kafara on your that. Just go and make it up. Just ballpark how much you have missed and do qada on it. Because now we're talking about in terms of out of ignorance and forgetfulness, right? This is deliberately, again, intentionally, knowing what you have done. If it's not made up before each Ramadan, will there need to be penalty? No. If you didn't make it up before the next Ramadan, there's no penalty, but this is not recommended. This is not good at all, okay? Does qada salah include just fard sunnah? Just qada, you have to only do qada for fard salah. And I hope not 1 year period, right? I hope that's also clear. You don't have to make up any salah from your days of your period. You are excused from those. Just if you know, on your regular clean state, you don't pray, you just have to make up the fard salah. Is it permissible to get pills to stop your periods while fasting? Yes, it is. I mean, before puberty, salah is not counted. No, before puberty, salah is not counted. Jazakallah khair. Okay, is it permissible to get period? Yes, you can get pills to stop the period while you're fasting. What about Isha? Do we make up for fard and not the witr? No, you should make up witr. Witr is wajib. Witr and the fard of Isha has to be made up, done qada on if you have not prayed those. If we make up our fast from last Ramadan but haven't made ones yet from the past few years, including breastfeeding, is that fine? Yes, that's fine. Just keep going. I think everyone who's goes through pregnancy and breastfeeding should have like a contingent plan, like, you know, like I'm gonna make up 5 this month, 6 that month, like that, you know. Just keep going, inshallah. As how someone mentioned above about missing some out of ignorance at a young age, as to confirm, does it still need to be made up and we should estimate? Yes. If you know now you have made it up, you owe that to Allah, right? So now you have to go back and ballpark what you think you missed and go back and, you know, make up a plan to only make up. There's no kafara. What if someone missed the fast as they didn't wake up for suhoor and didn't had the idea that suhoor is not fard for fast, so they missed the fast intentionally, deliberately? So do they kafara? No, do qada. This is not deliberately. This is out of not knowing, right? So alhamdulillah, our Sharia gives us that excuse of not knowing, but now you know you should do qada. Now you know you should do qada. How can we ever make up all the qada salah? You don't what make up like qada salah, those who missed before becoming conscious, establishing 5 salah. You just keep going. To be honest with you, you know, you may have like 2, 3, 5, 6 years of salah to make up. You just keep going. Every day you make intention that I'm going to pray, uh, you know, during Fajr salah, I'm going to pray 2 extra fard from the missed salah. You know, if you have extra time during Fajr. For Zuhur, I'm going to do the extra 4 fard that I missed before. You know, you make a plan, you write down what you think you've missed, and you make a plan to do something every day. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely lenient. Not, I don't want to say extremely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. He will, inshallah, see your efforts. So you just keep going, trying to make up your salah. Keep going. Don't let shaitan overwhelm you to think like, oh my God, that's 10 years of salah I have to make up, or 5 years of salah I have to make up. Don't let shaitan overwhelm you, because Allah is extremely merciful. As long as we are seriously trying, you know, not lazy trying, seriously trying, inshallah, Allah will help us, inshallah. Okay, so those, I've reached the end of questions, alhamdulillah. So where was I? Oh, kafara. So this is option 1, and you have to have valid excuse to omit option 1. You can't just say, I'll just give the money. Can't say that. So I hope that is clear, right? And I hope the other things to understand is the 60-day fast, that's not a joke, right? 60 days of fasting is not something to be taken lightly. This just show you the value of Ramadan. So show you the value of Ramadan, is that we should not take this lightly. Okay, if there's no question about option 1, I'll move on to option 2. Now, the option 2 is feed the needy people or poor people. So if you have a valid excuse for to avoid option 1, you can go to option 2. And this is feed 60 poor people 2 full meals a day, okay? Or feed 1 poor person 2 full meals a day for 60 days. Or it's any of these, A, B, C, D, any of these, okay? Give 60 poor people 3.5 pounds of wheat, flour, or value in cash, or to 1 poor person for 60 days, or give 60 poor people 7.5 pounds of dry dates, barley, or value in cash, or feed one poor person for 60 days. And these equivalent to most of the times the sadaqatul fitr in your locality. So you should find out what is the sadaqatul fitr in your locality, and then times that by 60, and that will be the amount that is owed for one kafara. One kafara, okay? I hope that made sense, inshallah. I will move on, inshallah. It's already 2 o'clock. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. We still have a lot to go. So going back, we said that the nullifiers are divided into 2 categories. One is that only qada needs to be made up, or that qada and kafara. And we just went over what is kafara, right? We just went over what is kafara. So now we're going to talk about each of these 2 things in detail, okay? First, we're going to talk about number 2, which is that requires makeup, the qada, as well as the kafara, okay? And this is only for Ramadan fast. Kafara is not required for any sunnah, mustahab, or nafil fast. It's only for Ramadan fast. Why 60 days are used for kafara? Because the fasting, 1 day equivalent of fasting to Ramadan is like those 2 days. Okay. That's why you need to do 2 days equivalent just to get 1 day of Ramadan in, right? Okay, so these are the actions that makes qada and kafara required, okay? One is eating or drinking deliberately. Now, this eating or drinking is anything. Give me a minute. Okay, here we are. Eating, drinking, edible items that humans normally consume, and this consumption gives nourishment, or it's medication, or it gives pleasure in some way. Those things, if you consume anything that is normal human consumption, right? Edible items, and they give nourishment in some ways, and or if there's some kind of medications, right? And or if it gives some pleasure in some ways, like you eat a chocolate or something like that, right? That will invalidate your fast, and it will require qada. Okay, it will require qada and kafara. Okay, so these criteria have to be met. Okay, also what other thing that falls under this category is if you are, and again, please get rid of any children in the room. If you are kissing and it, while you're kissing someone, you end up swallowing some of their saliva, that will fall under this drinking category, and it will break your fast, and you will need qada and kafara. I hope that made sense. So if you're kissing someone and you end up swallowing their saliva, that will break your fast. Their saliva, okay? So it has to be edible items fit for human consumption, gives you nourishment, or if it's a medication that you have taken through the mouth, it goes down your throat, through your nose or your anus, and it gives anything that gives pleasure will break your fast, and you'll need qada and kafara. Second thing is sexual intercourse. Again, it has to be deliberate, knowingly, right? Out of free will, regardless of one ejaculates or not. Any kind of penetration will break your fast, and you will require qada and kafara. And this is both from the front or the rear private part, which is, the anal sex also will break the fast. Okay, if there's no question for this, I'll move on, inshallah. Now we are moving on to the part where we're moving on to the part which is this one right here. Nullifiers that require only making up, okay? No qada, no kafara, just making up, okay? So nullifiers that only make requires qada, only making up the fast, okay? Any current Ramadan fast broken mistakenly, okay? So the difference between forgetfulness and mistakenly, okay? So this is something important to understand, right? Okay, the difference between doing something forgetfulness and mistakenly. So, for example, you forget you're fasting and you eat, right? That will not break your fast. Okay, so here is mistakenly, not forgetfulness. So, if someone starts eating, and they forgot they were fasting, and they ate something, and then they remember, oh, I'm fasting, then they stop the eating, and whatever's in their mouth they spit it out, right? Their fast is not broken. I hope that is clear. Their fast is not broken. But if someone does things mistakenly, for example, you know, iftar is at 5:30 and you thought it was 5:30, but it's actually 5:28 and you started eating, right? That's mistakenly, right? That will break your fast. That will break your fast. And in that case, because you've done it mistakenly, you owe qada for that. I hope that made sense. The difference between forgetfulness and mistake. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go on to number 2, inshallah. Any current Ramadan fast broken for valid reasons is also you need qada for those. Non-Ramadan fast, so if you're fasting sunnah days and you break your fast, there's no kafara, just make it up again. Eating non-food item will break your fast. So if someone, there's disorders. People have the pica disorder where they eat non-food item. They'll eat like paper. They'll eat pen. They will not like pen, like they will not pen, like hair. People will eat hair. Those are disorders, right? Those things will break your fast. It's non-food item, and because it's non-food item, you just have to give. Yeah, you just have to do the qada and not the kafara. Okay, ejaculation without penetration will break your fast, and you have to do qada. Being coerced to break one's fast, you'll do qada. Eating or drinking accidentally, you are to do qada for that because it breaks your fast. Okay. Eating or drinking accidentally, I wrote that. Eating or drinking because one thought Maghrib entered, but Maghrib did not enter. And this is the mistaking part, right? Like I thought that iftar, it's time for iftar, but it wasn't. It's 2 minutes left. Well, you mistakenly broke your fast. Now you owe a qada for that. Either eating or drinking because one doubted that Fajr entered, but Fajr really did enter. Like you don't know if Fajr is here or not, and you kept eating, but it was Fajr time. So in that case, your fast is broken and you should do qada. Eating or drinking forgetfully, and thereafter thinking that the fast is broken, to deliberately eat and drink again. So that's also gives qada. Swallowing what is between the teeth on the condition that it is the size of a chickpea or bigger. Size of a chickpea or bigger, deliberately swallowing it from your teeth, then like if it's stuck in your teeth, then you need to do qada for that later on. Swallowing a pebble or other items that people don't eat typically, right? Those things, non-edible item, you are to do qada for that. Swallowing water by accident when gargling for wudu or ghusl. This is why gargling for wudu is not necessary when you are fasting. Just avoid it out of being cautious, right? For ghusl also, what you need to make sure is you don't tilt your head backward when you are doing a ghusl, fard ghusl, right? If you are not doing a fard ghusl, don't do the gargling. There's no need for it. If you're not doing a fard ghusl, there is no need for gargling when you are fasting, okay? But if you are doing a fard ghusl, just don't tilt your head. Just get the water, swirl it around your mouth and spit it out, okay? Don't let it go down your throat. Swallowing toothpaste and mouthwash. I don't know who would do swallow mouthwash, but that would also break your fast and you do qada. Regarding Fajr, should we follow the time of our phone app or the local masjid? Sometimes they're off by a few minutes. And what if we accidentally follow the wrong one? Then do we have to do qada? Yes. Is Friday ghusl fard? No. Sorry, Friday ghusl is sunnah. And for the Friday ghusl, the Friday day starts the Maghrib of the night before, right? So you can do your Friday ghusl before you go to sleep, or you can do your Friday ghusl before Fajr starts, right? So that's something you can do. I make my kids do their Friday ghusl Thursday night. That's Islamically Friday, right? So because in the early morning it takes too long to do everyone take a shower and then get out of the house to get going on time to reach the madrasa. So I make my kids do their Friday ghusl the night before so they get their sunnah ghusl for Friday done. Regarding the Fajr, what time should we be following? I'm going to get back to you on that. There's a specific uh, angle that we have to follow based on the Hanafi time, and I'm going to get back to you on that, inshallah. Okay. Requires qada and making up only. Deliberately swallowing vomit that reaches a mouthful. Okay, so this is another important thing. If you deliberately throw up and then you swallow whatever you threw up instead of spitting it out, that will break your fast and now you owe a qada for it. Deliberately vomiting a mouthful, regardless of one swallows it or not. If you force yourself to throw up, then that will, and it has to be a mouthful, okay? If it's anything less than a mouthful, then your fast is not broken. It's not broken. Engaging in sexual intercourse because one still thinks Fajr has not entered, but it really has, okay? Engaging in intercourse forgetfully and thereafter thinking that the fast is broken and to deliberately continue and do it again, that also breaks your fast and you have to do qada. Entering, and in this case, you also continuously doing it. No, never mind. Entering a suppository into the anus. Again, the anus is can reach your stomach, so that will break your fast, okay? Entering something dry into the anus and it completely disappears inside the body, then it will break your fast and you have to do qada. Entering something wet or oiled into the anus, even if it does not completely disappear inside the body, will break your fast and you have to do qada. Okay, nullifiers of fast, keep going. Water used to clean the nose for wudu or ghusl reaches the throat. Again, going back to the gargling, just avoid it if it's not necessary. Inhaling medicine into the nostrils, so any kind of inhalers through the nose also will break your fast and you have to do qada. And now if you have a valid excuse for it, that's fine, but you still have to do the qada, right? If you're doing it without a valid excuse, then it falls under the deliberate free will, without any coercion. So now you have to do kafara. Inhaling smoke, incense, and steam intentionally, going into the kitchen and trying to smell what someone's cooking, that will break your fast. So if you do it intentionally, it will break your fast and you owe qada. Touching that causes one to ejaculate will break your fast and make you have to do qada for it. Applying medicine to an open abdominal wound and it reaches the stomach will break your fast and make qada, okay? Is there any other question for these? I believe this is. Is there any questions for these? Yes. So the question is, gargling for wudu can be avoided when fasting to prevent water from going down the throat, right? Yes. Because gargling for wudu is not the fard of wudu, it is a sunnah act of wudu, and you can avoid it just to be cautious so your water doesn't go down the throat. And if you don't gargle, your wudu still counts. So if one of those invalidate our fast and we have to do qadha, do we eat food as our fast is broken? No. Out of adab, you should just not eat, even though your fast is not correct. Smelling cooking, yeah, like the smoke that comes, the scent of the food, intentionally smelling it will break your fast. Instead, intentionally inhaling that smell will break your fast. Did not get the last point, Ustada. Which last point? Applying medicine to an open abdominal wound, and if that medicine reaches the stomach, it will. Abdominal wounds are wounds on your stomach area, right? Because that wound may be open, that the medicine reaches your stomach, right? So in that case, anything going into your stomach will break your fast. Okay, smoke did not get the last point. I hope that was the last one. Let's explain. Please explain 25 in more detail. Inhaling smoke, incense, and steam intentionally. Going smells so good. We should not be doing that while we're fasting. That will break, because the smoke sometimes can carry water vapor. So inhaling that from your nose, it will go down your throat and eventually reach your stomach, and that's what's breaking the fast. Because anything reaching the stomach, the throat area, will break your fast. Okay? Same thing with incense, right? Because you're taking in that through your nose, going into your throat, right? It will break your fast, right? The steam, like, especially like, if you go into the gym and you sit in the sauna, right? While you're fasting, you shouldn't do that, because that steam carries water vapor and it can go down your nose and into your throat, and that causes you to break your fast, okay? Taking a steam hot shower, right? So even if you are taking a shower while you're fasting, make sure it doesn't steam up to the point where you're inhaling the steam. And even now that you're inhaling it intentionally, and you should be cautious about that. Okay. I hope 25 is explained. Okay. 27, applying medicine, abdominal wound, if it's an open wound and there's a possibility through that wound the medicine will reach the stomach, that will break your fast, because there's a chance now for that medication to reach the stomach, and anything reaching the stomach will break your fast. That is the point about the abdominal wound. Okay, I'm not talking about little cuts, right? Little superficial cuts in the stomach is not going to reach the stomach, right? On the abdominal area, you got a little cut. It has to be those kind of deep wounds, like from surgeries or something like that, that can take that medication into the stomach. I hope that makes sense, inshallah. Okay, so please confirm, nothing can be applied to nose, ear, rectum, even if it's remedy. Yes, not to the nose. You cannot put anything in the nose, because the nose has access to the throat, and it can go down your throat into your stomach. It will break your fast. Ear. Now, the condition with the ear is you can put ear drops into the ear. You can put oil. You can even get water in the ear if you want. Who do that, I don't know, but you can get things into the ear. But if you do not have an aperture in the ear. What is the aperture means? Aperture is like a hole in your membrane. So you have a hole in your eardrum, your membranes, that can cause things to leak into the throat and stomach area. Now, if your doctor said your ears are fine, you don't have any aperture, you don't have any holes in your ears, that's fine. Then you can put oil, you can put ear drops, that's fine, because there is a membrane that is a barrier, and it obstructs anything from the ear reaching down to the throat and stomach. But if there's a hole or if there's a perforation in that whole eardrum or the membrane, then things can leak from the ear into the throat and then stomach. Okay, so you have to go and see your doctor and see if you have any kind of aperture or anything like that. The rectum, which is the anus areas, yes, if it something wet, you're putting something in there, there's penetration, it will break your fast. If you're doing it intentionally, then you will break your fast and you owe kafara. Now, if it's necessary, it's a medicinal thing, and you do definitely need it, then it's a valid excuse. You just have to make up that fast later on. Okay, I hope that made sense. If our fast is broken because of period coming, do we eat the day or still? What do you mean period coming? It's not coming. You don't know. It's not, period is not here until you see the signs of period, right? And whatever it is for that specific person. So for example, it can start as something brownish, or it can start as something slightly pinkish, right? That's when you know your period is here. It's not, it's coming and I feel like it's coming. No, it's not that. It has to be here for your fast to have a valid excuse, because it makes you salivate. Yes, also, well, see, the thing with the salivation is fine. You can salivate, but the smoke carries also water vapor, right? And it goes down the throat. That's the problem with this inhaling smoke. So as for example, not smelling bread, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it intentionally. If you just happen to walk into a room and there's some kind of smoke and you just smelled it unintentionally, that's fine. Don't go and be like, ah, bread is amazing. I know bread smells good. Okay. The smelling ither also, yes, you should not smell, incense, ither intentionally, all of these things. Yes. I just lost. Okay, no, not that one. Okay, I answered that already. Mm, okay, I mean, if cuddling or these type of things break fast. Cuddling, it won't break your fast, but you have to make sure that it's not going to lead into anything that's going to arouse you or make the person ejaculate. Those will break your fast. So that's why it's better to avoid it. Avoid it, okay? And if you can't control yourself and it leads to one thing to another, and then you end up having penetration or ejaculation for the men, even for the women, but it's easier for the men to ejaculate, right? So then in that case, his fast is broken, right? So it's best to avoid things like cuddling and these kind of things while you're fasting. I mean, if it starts during the day of our fast, okay, yeah, if your period is here, then it's here and you don't have to fast. The blood has come out and that invalidates our fast. Do we eat in the day? Yes, you can. If you start bleeding and you saw your blood, you know your period is here, you can eat. It's fine. We can choose one of the two options of kafara. No need to do both, correct? There's no choosing when it comes to the two options of kafara. It's only if you don't qualify for option one because of valid excuse, you can go to option two. There's no choosing. I hope I made that very clear, because I know people do that a lot. Oh, I'll just give them money for it. No, if you do not meet the requirement for valid excuse, you have to do the 60 days of the consecutive fasting. Now, if you don't qualify for that and you have valid excuse, you can move on to option 2 of doing the monetary compensation. I hope that made sense, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to keep going. It's already 2:17, subhanallah. I thought I was doing good with the timing, but okay. Non-invalidators of fasting. Okay, so these are things that do not break the fast. Forgetfulness. Again, forgetfulness. If you forget and as soon as you remember, you stop, then you're good. Your fast is not broken. Wet dreams. Wet dreams will not break your fast because you don't have any control over that. Waking up in a state of sexual impurity. So if you had a wet dream and you woke up, that's not going to break your fast. Applying kohl to the eyes will not break your fast. Applying most things, even eye drops, will not break your fast. Okay. Hijama and cupping, those are the same things. They will not break your fast, but it's makruh to do it if you know that it's going to weaken you, because you're pulling the blood out of your body, right? So if it weakens you, you should not do it. You should avoid it. It's makruh. Unintentionally inhaling smoke and it enters the throat, like you're walking into the room, the mom is cooking amazing food, you just unintentionally smoking, inhaling it, that's okay. It does not does not break your fast even if it enters the throat. Inadvertently vomiting, so unintentionally vomiting, even if it's a mouthful, will not break your fast. Using miswak, unflavored miswak, will not break your fast. Eye drops will not break your fast. Eardrops. So here is the question. We had a question before about the eardrops. Eardrops, as long as there's no aperture, that's the hole, okay, or a leak, anything that can leak through the membrane, okay, aperture in the membrane or the eardrum, then you're fine to use eardrops, okay. Injections, any kind of injections, intravenous IV drips, we talked about that before, that does not directly go into the stomach, is not going to break the fast. Traces of food less than the size of chickpea, if you accidentally swallow it, will not break your fast. Cervical exam, so this is for the sisters. If you have to get a pap smear while you're fasting, it will not break your fast, but it's best to delay it after Ramadan, okay? And that also goes for any kind of dental work, as long as whatever's happening in your mouth, the doctor's doing, it's not going down your throat. And usually they're really good with suctioning out the water or saliva from your mouth while you are while they're doing the dental work on you. So as long as you are staying conscious of that, right? And again, with the dental work, the ulama advise that if you can avoid the dental work for right now, if you can do it after Ramadan, then delay it after Ramadan. But it's absolutely necessary, right? You are in a lot of pain, but you still want to fast. As long as nothing's going down the throat, will not break your fast. Even if they give you those numbing injection into your mouth, like on your gum, they do the injections, that's not going to break your fast, okay? Because those things do not go down your throat into your stomach. They just stay there and numb your mouth, right? So that will not break your fast. So cervical exams like pap smear will not break your fast, but as long as if you can delay it, it'll be better for you. Endoscopy through the anus will not invalidate the fast if lubrication is will invalidate the fast. Endoscopy will invalidate if lubrication is used, right? So if they use lubrication, then it will break your fast. Dialysis does not break the fast. Any kind of patch that you put on the skin, like medicine patch, nicotine, birth control patches, those will not break your fast. Let me just see if I've missed anything on my notes. No. Is there any questions the other things that will not also break your fast is I think they're called sublingual medications. Let me just look at my notes quickly. Yeah, sublingual medications, like things like that, these are medications they put under the tongue, right? There's some kind of medication they put for heart, and it's people who are having heart attack, so they'll put it right under their tongue so they don't have a heart attack, and it causes vasodilation so they don't get heart attacks. So what happens is they don't go down the throat. They just put them under the tongue and it dissolves from there. It doesn't go under the throat. And because it doesn't go down the throat, it does not break your fast. Those are called sublingual medications, okay? I also, infusion into the urethra, right? Infusion into the urethra, if they put a catheter inside you, that will not break your fast, okay? Intravenous, intramuscular, intercardiac, and all of those injections will not break the fast. Epidurals will not break the fast. So you have to get an epidural. Sometimes people have to get spinal epidurals. Those will not break the fast, okay? Any kind of oral inhaling, such as asthma pump, will break the fast. So if you're an asthma patient, if you have someone who has asthma and they have to take that will break your fast. And because you have a valid excuse, you just do qada, no kaffarah necessary. Nebulizers will break your fast, okay? Nebulizers will break your fast. Eardrops, we already talked about that. Gastronomy, anything to do with the stomach, those will break your fast. Nasogastric intubation, where they put a pipe through your nose and goes down your throat, that will break your fast. Okay, sometimes you go to the dentist and the mouth being open for so long makes loads of saliva. Yeah, that's where if you swallow that, will that break your wudu? No. Saliva breaking does not break wudu, okay? Swallowing your saliva, it does not break wudu. Eating anything does not break wudu. Drinking anything does not break wudu. So when you go to the dental office and you end up like accumulating a lot of saliva in your mouth because of they're doing work, give them a heads up, like, I will do this, please. When I do this, just suction all the saliva out of my mouth, and they'll do that, right? They're very good with things like that. Any other questions before we conclude? Cervical exams with lubrications will not break the fast in pregnancy. Okay, so with cervical exams, lubrications will break your fast because this is something wet going inside you. If it's something dry, like pap smears, right? It's not wet, because what in pap smears, what they do is they open you up, your vaginal canal, they'll open you up and they'll insert a swab, right? Like a cotton swab to, take a swab, sweep that area up, right? So that thing is not wet, it's dry. That's why pap smears do not break your fast. So you have to ask, are you guys putting lubrication on whatever it is they are using to put inside you? If it's something with lubrication, if it's wet, then it does break your fast. Any other questions? Is it permissible to taste the salt without swallowing while feeding others and maybe forgotten? No, you have to understand that rukhsa, that allowance to taste the salt is given to those women who have ill-tempered people at home, and if the salt is not correct, the taste is not correct, there's going to be problem afterwards. That allowance is given to those people, not just because, oh, I have people in the house, so I have to make sure the food is tasting great, that is not allowed. So you shouldn't try to do that. You should try to avoid that at all costs. Again, will your fast break if you are if it doesn't go down your throat, no, your fast won't break as long as it doesn't go down your throat. But it is makruh to do that. You're going towards the limits of haram, right? If you're tasting it without a valid reason. I hope that made sense, inshallah. So with that being said, Alhamdulillah, we were able to complete everything. I was really afraid, like, oh, I hope I have enough time and I don't go overboard. I will, inshallah, post these slides as soon as the recording gets updated. If you guys don't have any other questions or anything else any other concerns, we'll conclude for today. And next week, we are going to start the Fiqh of Zakat, inshallah. If there's no other question, we'll conclude, inshallah. No, I don't know if I'll be able to upload the slides in the folder, but I will put it in the group, the short courses group, inshallah. Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah accept everything from us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our Ramadan fruitful. And next week we'll start the fiqh of zakat, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.